Shri Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Shri Mayapur Dham ki jai, Ganga Mai ki jai, Jamuna Mai ki jai, Tulsi Maharani ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So this is Canto 3, 428. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Rajavacha Nidanam upakateshu Vishni Bhojesh. Now, how does this work here? It's actually just 2 lines?
No, it's 4.
It is? Okay. Because the Bhojeshvadirata, anyhow. Arirata yutapa yutapeshu mukya Satu katama vishishta udavayad Dharirapi tatyaja akritim chiyadishaha Nidanam upagateshu Vishni Bhojeshva Adirata yutapayuta peshu mukya Satu katam avashishta udavoyat Harirapi tatyaja akritim chiyadisha Gadeshu Vishnu Bhojesh Adirata Yutaba Yutapeshu Mukya Tatu Kadam Avashishta Yudavo Yad Adirapi Tatyaja Akritim Chiyadisha Nidanam Upakateshu Vishnu Bhojesh Adirata Yutapa Yutapeshu Mukya Satu Katam Avashishta Udavoyad Adirapi Tatyaja Akritim Chiyadisha. Ladies? Nidanam Uvakateshu Vishnivojesh Adirata Utapeshu Mukhya Satu Katama Vashishta Yudavo Yad Raja Uvacha. The king inquired. Nidhanam. Destruction. Upagadeshu. Having overtaken. Vrishni. Of the Vrishni dynasty. Bhojeshu. The Bhoja dynasty. Adirata. Great commander. Utapa. Commander-in-chief. Utapeshu. Amongst them. Mukhya. Prominent. Saha. He. Tu. Only. Katam. How. Avashishtaha. Remained. Udavaha. Udava. Yat. Whereas. Hari. The personality of Godhead. Api. Also. Tatyaje. Finished. Akritim. Complete pastimes. Tri Adishaha. The Lord of the three worlds. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The king inquired, at the end of the pastimes of the Lord of the three worlds, Sri Krishna, and after the disappearance of the members of the Vrishni and Bhoja dynasties, who were the best of the great commanders, why did Uddhava alone remain? Purport. According to Sri Jiva Goswami, Nidanam means the transcendental abode of the Lord. Nid means the highest, and Dhanam means opulence. And because the abode of the Lord is the highest manifestation of transcendental opulence, His abode can therefore be called Nidanam. Apart from the grammatical elucidation, the real purpose of the word Nidanam is to indicate that all the members of the Vrishni and Bhoja dynasties were direct associates of the Lord. And after the end of His pastimes, all the associates were dispatched to their respective positions in the transcendental abode. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur elucidates the meaning of akritim as pastimes. A means complete, and kritim means transcendental pastimes. Since the Lord is identical with His transcendental body, there is no question of His changing or quitting His body. To act in accordance with the rules and customs of the material world, the Lord seems to take His birth or leave His body. But the pure devotees of the Lord know well the actual fact. It is necessary, therefore, for the serious students of Srimad Bhagavatam to follow the notes and comments of the great acharyas like Jiva Goswami and Vishwanath Chakravarti. To others who are not devotees of the Lord, the comments and explanations of such acharyas may appear to be grammatical jugglery, but to the students who are in the line of disciplic succession, the explanations of the great acharyas are quite fit. The word upakateshu is also significant. All the members of Vrishni and Bhoja directly reached the abode of the Lord. Other devotees do not reach the abode of the Lord directly, but the pure associates of the Lord have no attraction for the opulence of any planets of the material world. Sometimes, due to inquisitiveness, devotees who are to be promoted to the abode of the Lord have some attraction for the opulence of the higher material planets above the earth, and thus they desire to see them while going up to the perfection. But the Vrishnis and Bhojas were directly dispatched because they had no attraction for material planets. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also suggests that according to the Amara Kosha dictionary, Akriti also means signal. Lord Krishna ordered Uddhava by signal to go to Badarikashrama after his departure. And Uddhava, as a pure devotee of the Lord, carried out the order more faithfully than going back to Godhead or the abode of the Lord. That was the cause of his remaining alone even after the departure of the Lord from the face of the earth. Om Ajnanatamrandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Bangalangadai Kajim Chatkripatamaham Vande Shri Guru Nidatarinam Paramanandamadam Shri Chaitanya Ishvara Srila Prabhupada. First, I must take permission from my seniors here. You please allow me to speak, but I will call upon you also, because there are some questions I have that I couldn't get answered in preparation for this, and perhaps you will be able to help me. Hare Krishna. Many points here. In this purport, we find a lot of explanation of words, which often happens in Srila Prabhupada's purports. Some word is brought out and then expanded upon. I find it interesting that the first word that is expanded upon, nidanam, in the translation is given as destruction. In the synonyms, it's translated as destruction. But then the word is expanded upon to indicate nidanam, or the highest platform of opulence. Other words that we'll go into are also expanded upon. And Srila Prabhupada makes a very important point here that was emphasized in a talk that I all recommend that you listen to by Shivaram Maharaj. Here's a little commercial. I am a member of the SPT, and we're conducting a month-long celebration of Kartik with talks on the Srimad Bhagavatam and Krishna book, the first chapters, 41 chapters of Krishna's Leela in Vrindavan. We go all the way to the pastimes of Krishna in Vrindavan. So, in his talk, in Shivaram Maharaj's talk, he makes a number of points about how we have to study the Srimad Bhagavatam. We have to study the Srimad Bhagavatam with the help of the acharyas. The message of the Bhagavatam does not proceed in this same fashion as perhaps a PhD treatise might proceed, where you have a particular topic and there's certain rules about how you present the topic, and it systematically you build on one idea to the next idea to the next idea, and the person following it is able to go systematically from one preposition or proposition, I should say, evidence and so on, and then this one and that one, and it ends up with some conclusion. But the Srimad Bhagavatam does not follow such mundane rules. The message of the Bhagavatam is threaded throughout its text in such a way that one requires to study it with the help of the acharyas. The example that Maharaj gave, his first example in his talk, which again recommend, it is the first of our talks in the Celebrating Kartik series by Shivaram Maharaj. So he mentions how in Sanskrit, in Vedic literature, there's a term called the Paribhasa Sutra. And this, I don't know what Paribhasa means. Sutra, I understand. Sutra is like a code, and Paribhasa Sutra apparently is translated as the key verse through which the rest of the text should be understood. And what is the Paribhasa Sutra for the Srimad Bhagavatam? Yes, iti chamcha kalapumsham. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam, that is the lens through which we see everything in the Srimad Bhagavatam. That is the lens. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. And with that lens, we receive the Leelas of Narasingha, the Leelas of Varaha. We see all through that lens, which is not the lens that mundane scholars might view the Bhagavad Purana. It's often not the lens through which common, contemporary Hindus, so to speak, view Krishna. Many will say Krishna is the 9th or 10th incarnation of Vishnu or whatever, that he's an avatar of Vishnu. And Vishnu is the ultimate personality of God. But Bhagavat is very clearly saying, of course, now here is the point that Shiva Rama was saying. Sukadev does not say, as a PhD scholar might say, now I will present the Paribhasa Sutra for this text. And here it is. No, he doesn't say it. The acharyas reveal this. The acharyas reveal. And as Prabhupada points out, that to the mundane scholars, when the acharyas begin to expound on the different terms in the Bhagavatam and give different meanings, then the scholar may, oh, this is a very fine example of grammatical, artistry. Jugglery is what Srila Prabhupada called it. Grammatical jugglery. Juggling words. Oh, let's see. Threw this up here. Oh, I got it here. Ooh, I got this one here. Ni, dana, ooh, and coming up with some, as a poet might do, right? We've seen a rap artist. That's the common, today. The rappers, right? They take words and they juggle them. Woo, we're gonna, right? Exactly, that's what they're doing. They're juggling words in some way to make them sound cool and exciting, and that's their art. But this is not what the acharyas are doing. They're not taking words and intellectually playing with them to come out with different meanings. There are such pundits that do such things. We have, in fact, I will propose, although that Keshav Kashmiri in the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, well, actually Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself used to practice this, isn't it? He used to practice the jugglery of words so that he would come out with one statement that would prove a particular point, and then he'd juggle it up to prove exactly the opposite, and then he would do something else to make it other come out, and his students would just, what do we do here? This is one of the, I was just reading, I think it was, there's a new book, very wonderful book by, I haven't completed it, by Kripamoya Prabhu, who talks about, he's tried to create sort of he calls it a catechism. I mean, any Catholics in the room here? Oh, I shouldn't say, but raised Catholic? Were you raised Catholic?
My dad was Catholic, but my mom wasn't.
Did you have catechism?
My friends did. I know what it is. But.
Okay. So catechism is a process that good Catholics go through. After there's baptism, and then there's catechism, and then there's confirmation, right? After that. So baptism is just the beginning, just like for us, first initiation, you have to go through. So in the Catholic tradition, after baptism, then there's catechism, and catechism is where you learn everything, all the teaching, and it's nicely put in the forms of questions and answers. And then once you've learned it all, you can become confirmed as a Catholic disciple of Jesus. So he's presented this, and he narrates a story about how in days gone past, I don't know exactly how long ago, in some villages of India, one toll of the guru would be invited to enter into debate with the toll of another soul in some village gone some distance, and this debate had great stakes to it, because whoever lost the debate lost everything. The whole village then becomes part of the other village, and some description like this. So this was the type of thing going on, perhaps. But this is not the game of the acharyas, just to juggle words to make themselves look cool. No, they're giving us the revelation. They're enabling us to understand Srimad Bhagavatam, to go deeper into it. And therefore we have to study them. Now, most of us don't have access to Sanskrit. Anyone here knows Sanskrit? Advaita Maharaj knows a bit of Sanskrit. You know a bit of Sanskrit. I certainly don't. I'm learning, a little bit of, he and ya and api, starting to recognize what those things mean. But no, I'm lucky if I can. I'm trying to understand. I made a practice of trying to learn the synonyms for the words that I sing every day. I mean, we all sing Sanskrit every morning, right? We sing the Gurvashtakam, and we sing the Shikshashtakam. And so I've tried to learn what does each one of those words mean that I'm singing, and I'm getting there. I recommend it. I think it is a good practice. But I don't know much more than that. So, where do I go? The Acharyas have written everything in Sanskrit. I go to Srila Prabhupada, who has taken, and I'm sure Jayadvaita Maharaj, you've observed Prabhupada with his books. Right? He had the commentaries of Vishwanath, he had the commentaries of Sridhar Swami, he had all the commentaries. I think there was actually one big book that had all of the commentaries in one, correct?
Yeah, 6 commentaries, something like 6 commentaries.
Yeah, but they were also in Sanskrit. I mean, they were the Sanskrit commentaries. The commentaries are written in Sanskrit. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur.
Right across the hall?
Yes, there is a copy of that. We can see it. So he had this. And from there, we get Srila Prabhupada's purports. And yet still he says in his purport that we should study these. And we have to thank the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust for continuing the work of translating these commentaries and publishing them for our benefit, so that we may study the Srimad Bhagavatam and derive its meaning. So now I have a question. And this is where I was going to ask Jayadvaita Maharaj and Kavi Chandra Maharaj, please, I offer you my respects to allow me to be speaking. The Bhoja and Vrishni dynasties are described here as being direct associates of Krishna. We also have heard that the Devas were ordered to take birth in these dynasties. Correct or wrong? They were ordered to take birth. So how does this work? Were the Devas now all who took birth in the Vrishni as the family members of Krishna? Did they finish up their Deva business and go back to Goloka, or? So that's my question. Or were there other?
Well, I don't have a specific reference directly to the question, but there are 2 things. One is probably less relevant than the other, or less persuasive. One is that when Yamaraj was cursed and became
Vidura, yeah.
then someone else, Aryanat, took over his job. So that can be done, someone can cover for you. The other reference is that when Krishna was traveling with the sages on tour, and he got 2 invitations, the Lord and the sages all just expanded themselves and accepted both invitations, went to both places at once.
But do they finish up? I mean, here they're...
There's no indication that I've seen that they were, because they became associates with Krishna, as if they attained liberation and they go down.
That's what it says here. So they all went back to Godhead.
I see.
That's my confusion. It says here that they're finished. They went. Prabhupada says here, all the members of Vishnu and Bhoja directly reached the abode of the Lord.
Yes, then what happens to the demigods among the dead?
Yeah, amongst that group, the demigods,
That's some
Vice President, you take over now. I'm out of here. Who knows? All right, so that's a question that we'll ask when we get to, when we meet, whatever. Anyhow, Hare Krishna. Now I'm being frivolous and I should stop. Okay, so that was one question. But the next question is about this attraction for the opulences and the stopping off at the heavenly planets. There, I recall that here in New York it was, I think, or no, it wasn't in New York, but it was somewhere when Srila Prabhupada wrote about Jayananda Prabhu, how if he had some lingering material desires, he would first stop off, so to speak, in the heavenly planets before going forward. But then Prabhupada considered that his service and so on, that he, as I recall, that he felt he must have achieved full perfection, which I also understood generally means that when we speak of returning home, going, being with Krishna, means that we also first begin our Krishna union with him in one of his Bhoma Leelas. And then leaving that, we are in our Siddha Deha. So there's progression. Here it's interesting that Srila Prabhupada talks about stopping off due to curiosity. So be careful of curiosity. Being curious about the heavenly worlds. Although I still fail to understand this, and maybe anyone has some, because when we change our bodies in this material world, we forget everything. We forget everything. So even if we were to get a Devata body, it's probably not the first time. Right? I mean, if we've been in this material existence, anadi, most likely we've already had this experience. So forget the curiosity now. Don't revive that curiosity, which you probably had many times in the past. Just leave that aside. You don't need it. Don't cultivate curiosity for the heavenly worlds. And certainly don't cultivate the desire for the heavenly enjoyments that are there. But cultivate the spirit that Mahaprabhu gives us. Nadanam, najanam, nasundari, kavitam va, jadigisha kamaye mama, janmani janmanishware bhavadad bhakti aituki thai. No great birth, heaven or this world or wherever. No great opulence. No, none of these things. No beautiful association. Or kavitam, expert with words, juggler in words. No. But just cultivate ahaituki bhakti. Love, aspiring for love. Shivaram Maharaj's talk, again I'll give an ad for it because it was so nice, was talking about the nature of prema, how it's revealed step by step in the 10th canto. And it, beginning with Mother Yashoda. Mother Yashoda reveals what is actually Krishna prema. In the pastime. And here again he says is described by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur as the Paribhas Sutra for the 10th canto. We've had a Paribhas Sutra for the Srimad Bhagavatam in general, and now we get the Paribhas Sutra for the entire 10th canto. And I don't remember what it is, but I remember where it is, and it's just after Mother Yashoda's experience of looking in to Krishna's mouth and seeing everything. And then considering who is this? And for a moment, she begins to think of her little boy must be God. And then, forget that. That's it. She forgets. She puts that aside. And she simply accepts her little boy as an ordinary person whom she intensely loves. Parikshit asks a question after this, and what's going on here? And Sukadev responds, and the verse that he responds with, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes, this is the Paribhas Sutra of the 10th canto, through which we can see all of the pastimes, that this is the height of love of Godhead, when you forget that He is God, and you only love Him for who He is, not what He is. I love the terms that Shivaram said. Not what He is, God, right? But who He is, Krishna. Krishna. The supremely attractive person. That's Yashoda reveals to us. This is Krishna prema, loving Krishna, not because He's God, but because He's Krishna. That's what we aspire for. In this whole month we can pray for that as we sing the glories of Krishna Damodar. So, Hare Krishna. Kavichandra Maharaj, Jayadvaita Maharaj, any others, if you'd like to add something, I would be most appreciative. Hare Krishna. Or if there's any questions anyone may have, elucidations, further elucidations.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. And so your original question that you asked was something like, so the demigods came down and were born as Krishna's associates.
We hear that Krishna, that Vishnu, that Mahavishnu ordered.
That after
Vrishni and Bhoja dynasties.
The Moshala Lila.
Moshala Lila, yes.
And then they went back to Godhead. They get complete liberation.
That's what it says. Right?
Yeah. And so I looked in the 11th canto where it describes it in the service of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. In their commentary, they're mentioning something that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur said. So he said, he arranged to destroy his own dynasty for three specific purposes. Namely, to reestablish in the heavenly planets those demigods who had taken birth amongst the Yadavas to assist him, to reestablish the plenary Vishnu expansions in their abodes, such as Vaikuntha, Svetadvip, and Vadavik Ashram, and to remove himself from the vision of the material world, along with his eternal associates. So from this, it seems like
There are three. There's a bunch there. Yeah.
It's a little bit paradoxical because the demigods are going back to the demigod planets, but also his eternal associates are going back there. And I remember hearing somewhere, although it would take me a while to find it, something that it's like there are multiple souls in the same body or something.
That's also possible. Jai Jai Maharaj.
I remember now that Shri Bhagavad Gita in relationship to Krishna and because it's said that, they take birth and they attain liberation and so on. Or rather, they appear as what, demigods and buses and so on. But then they're supposed to be the eternal father and mother of Krishna. So then the Acharyas explain that the plenary portion of the associate of Krishna from the spiritual world joins with the particular demigod and becomes such and such person.
Yes. Yes.
And then as the drama winds up, the associate goes back.
Yes. Yes. That's and I think you just mentioned that this is Shivaram talks about this in respect of because Parikshit Maharaj asked, how did Yashoda achieve this position? And then the whole story of I don't remember their names of the what are their names? Drona and Dhara. Their story comes out, and then, like you said, so Drona and Dhara somehow also experience. They're there in Yashoda and Nanda, and Yashoda and Nanda are there, and all right, Hare Krishna. This is how it happens. We can't understand or conceive. We can't conceive of this with our faulty, limited intelligence and so on. But it's going on. It's going on. And it's not that they're just, they're actually fully experiencing. They have the full experience of being Yashoda and Nanda. And yet, they're not Yashoda and Nanda. They're Drona and Dhara, and in that respect, another part of this talk, which I felt was really important, is that our path is never to think, let us become Mother Yashoda and Nanda, or let us become, Vishaka and no. Our path of Raganuga, is to hear about these, to hear about the love of Yashoda and Nanda for Krishna, to hear about the pastimes of all of it with his eternal associates, and to worship that, and to remember that, and to awaken within ourselves that same love, that same kind of love. And then what form we take to experience that in Krishna's world, it could be whatever. But we don't aspire, we are going to become Yashoda, no. But we can experience that rasa that they experience. Vatsalya or Sakya or Dasya or even Madhurya. We can experience that in some perfect form in relationship with Krishna by hearing and remembering that their activities, their pastimes. That's our path. While engaged in regular sadhana. Hare Krishna. Is that okay? Thank you. Jai Shri Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Pancharatna Pr ki
Jai.
So if you get, whenever you get a chance, you have a little time, you're doing some work, you're using your hands, you don't need to use your head. Just tune in GBC on YouTube. But just look for GBC on YouTube, and you can hear all these talks, Kartik celebration, and just you don't have to watch. They're just it's